equipment, tax credits, even testimonials. Or just give them a call, 800-281-3189. Ask them directly. They'd love to hear from you. That's 800-281-3189. Or just go to harmonsolar.com.
My name is Mary Grace. Early diagnosis is key, but make no mistake, it is a devastating disease.
For more information, contact us at alz.org or through the 24/7 helpline at 800-272-3900. Sponsored by the Alzheimer's Association.
KQFN Tempe. Also transmitting on K257CD Phoenix at 99.3 FM and K240 EU Mountain Hills at 95.9 FM. Wherever you go, take us along. Listen to our live stream on our free Fanatic app. Download it today.
Welcome back. It's another day. Hopefully many, many more dollars. This is Beat the Book here on 1580 The Fanatic, broadcasting live from the Harmon Solar Studios in partly cloudy uptown Scottsdale.
Nice little change of pace, man.
Yeah, a little bit. We were all sunny all the time, basically all summer, and we got a little relief today, I guess. It is a best and worst Monday here on the show. We're going to talk about some of the best things that happened this weekend, worst things that happened. If you want to jump in on the text line, you are on the Fanatic text line. 888-368-1580 is the number. Give us your best and worst of the weekend. Not just your bets, but also just what happened to your team. How are things going for you? It's also a victory Monday for the Arizona Cardinals. Resounding victory over the Los Angeles Rams. We will talk about that and many, many more things. I'm Keon Rose. Alongside me is our betting expert, Dylan Cohen. And Dylan, who powers the show?
We are powered by Sport Trade, the newest sports book that is going to be launching here in Arizona very soon. We are just a matter of weeks away. It will be launching before the end of the month. We will keep you updated on when that date is finalized. But until then, go ahead and search Sport Trade. Check out their website. Tons of content on there that really breaks down all of these amazing different features they have that just really no other book that's operating right now in Arizona has. We've been talking a lot about this over the last couple of weeks. Alex Kane, the CEO of Sport Trade, will be back with us this coming Friday. So we're going to continue to learn more about everything that Sport Trade has to offer. But if you haven't already, check out the implied probability feature, because just the whole dynamic to look at your odds as percentage likelihoods to happen, as opposed to, the standard minus 200 plus 320, we're just going to go ahead and just toss all that stuff out the window. You don't need to frame your bets around that kind of a thing anymore. And when Alex is with us on Friday, we'll give you more reasons why that's going to make a lot of sense and help you make more money.
Because it gives you a better idea of what the book is thinking, which, how can you beat the book if you don't know what the book is actually trying to say?
And believe it or not, there's so much opportunity when a game is happening to leverage all these different tools that Sport Trade has to just seek out opportunities to profit. And we're going to get into ways that you can do this where you don't even need to wait for like the game to end. You can just, kind of keep an eye on things, see when one team maybe has the edge over another. And, then you can hop right in. You can place a live wager. You can cash it out completely. You can cash out a portion of it. So we're going to go through all these things later on this week. But you don't have to wait for us. You can actually go online. You can search Sport Trade. They have tons of videos, content on their website that breaks down all of these different perks. So I would highly recommend doing that and just start, getting a leg up on everyone else, because that Sport Trade launch is coming very soon. Keon, we had a crazy, crazy day in the NFL yesterday. It was probably the most chaotic NFL Sunday that I can honestly remember in a long time. 6 underdogs, 1 straight up, which brings the total now in week 2 to 7 underdogs have come out on top. And we have not seen this in the NFL for quite some time. It's only happened 3 times over the last 9 seasons. So I'm sure anyone that, was looking to try and pick winners yesterday, player props were probably the way to go. And, if you didn't see anything from me on Instagram over the weekend, there was a good reason for that. I was thinking about, putting out some winners or kind of what my thoughts were Sunday morning. I decided to keep that to myself, and that was to everyone's benefit because there were many of these games where just conventional wisdom did not prevail.
And if you look, by the way, at the 1580, the Fanatic pick'em contest.
Oh, I haven't even. I haven't even.
It's not just you.
I know.
A lot of people got tripped up this weekend. For the most part, if you were a sensible person, you were getting ruined.
I was just like, you know what? I don't need that disappointment today. I've got other things I got to focus on. I already know what I'm going to find on there. So just toss week 2 out the window and got to start fresh week 3 on there.
I did take a couple of upsets. So as far as I can tell, I'm doing pretty well.
Well, the absolute biggest upset that happened yesterday, just going off of, how the odds were, we had the Las Vegas Raiders coming into their matchup against the Baltimore Ravens as 8.5-point underdogs. And the Raiders, really just have this culture of grit and fight that comes directly from head coach Antonio Pierce. And we've seen the kind of coach that, he is from his time being with ASU under Herm Edwards. He is a guy that just commands the locker room, has a ton of respect from all the guys that play for him. They think so highly of him, and he just leverages this to get these guys to play huge in games where everyone counts them out. And yesterday, that's exactly what we saw. Every time Baltimore got ahead, the Raiders stayed with them, and in the fourth quarter, they were able to pull ahead on a Daniel Carlson field goal that gave them a 3-point lead with just a little tiny bit of time for the Ravens to try and get some field position for Justin Tucker to, maybe make one of his famous 60-yarder, plus field goals. And the Ravens just could not rise to the occasion. They could not find the yardage. They were suffocated by this Raiders defense. And I mean, we were talking about it before the show. Holy cow, Max Crosby. I mean, that man is a force to be reckoned with. I mean, Keon, what were some of your takeaways from that Raiders upset over the Ravens?
Yeah, first off, I agree with you on the Max Crosby thing. Like, that guy is, if you don't double him, it just feels like that's a quarterback pressure at least every time, if not a sack. He's that good. I also thought that the Ravens played pretty well offensively. Like, this isn't one of those cases where a team just came out and didn't do what they were supposed to do. The Ravens pretty much did that. They were consistent, but when it was time to make those big plays, get those explosive plays that pick up extra chunk yardage, that make scoring touchdowns ultimately easier, Baltimore couldn't do that because of the Raiders defense. The other thing that really stood out to me was, my God, Brock Bowers, absolutely a force, targeted 9 times, 9 receptions, 98 yards. And that's a problem. Like, I don't know. He presents a matchup problem at tight end because he's not a great blocker. If he can improve that, he's going to be on the field full time. He is legitimately a weapon, and Gardner Minshew found him over and over again over the course of that game. And Baltimore, who was already kind of struggling at the edges, their corners are kind of beat up, and their cornerback room definitely needs some reinforcements. When you look at what Brock Bowers presented in the middle of the field as a problem too, it just kind of doubled the Ravens' problems.
Well, and I think, the Ravens are still trying to kind of pinpoint, what is the best way for us to leverage this pairing of Derrick Henry and Lamar Jackson. Henry had 18 carries for 84 yards rushing, which was a bit of a improvement from the week before. He did get a rushing touchdown. Gardner Minshew has this tendency whenever he goes to Baltimore to play the Ravens. I do remember last year, as the backup for Anthony Richardson on the Colts, he led the Colts into Baltimore late in the season, and the Colts were able to win. This is now, the second time, and perhaps there's more. I haven't really kind of gone to, track how that's really played out over the course of Minshew's career, but he's seeming to, have a lot of success, in these high pressure positions. I mean, when you go to Baltimore in their home opener and they're 0-1, already really scrappy to try and get a win, and you now force them to go 0-2, there's some bragging rights there.
There is a little bit, and in the AFC, that's just very important. I think, especially for the Raiders, who, I don't think they're making the playoffs. I think a lot of people don't think they're making the playoffs, but they're not allowed to think that in that building. So they're going to go out there and try to get in. And this is a win that adds to that. It obviously gives you a win in the win column, but it gives you a lot of confidence moving forward as well that you can win some of these games, especially because Gardner Minshew is pretty fearless as a quarterback. When you look at a lot of these quarterbacks around the league, they're just not taking the deep shots that they were a year ago. And maybe the defenses are kind of scaring them. Gardner Minshew looks at that and he's like, I'm going to rip it anyway. And it worked for him, at least yesterday. It worked for him. And I think that gives the Raiders a chance to beat anybody if they're going to get those kinds of performances from Crosby on the defensive side, Bowers on the offensive side. Devontae Adams also had a really good day.
And I mean, in addition to, this one instance of an upset, there's 5 others where, I mean, they're all almost of equal weight of just like, holy cow, I cannot believe this happened. I mean, you look at the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and the Detroit Lions game. There's another one where you've got the Buccaneers in Detroit. Both these teams are, 1-0 going into it, and they're both, pretty much looked at as like a favorite to, win their respective divisions. These are 2 teams that were in the playoffs last year. The Lions certainly had, pretty high expectations, coming off the NFC Championship game last year. They looked pretty solid in week 1, winning in overtime against the Rams. And they unexpectedly struggled. I mean, the Buccaneers, really just, proved themselves in, not being an afterthought, especially when they weren't even favored to win their own division outright. Baker Mayfield goes for 185 passing yards. So, I mean, under 200 yards, and these guys are still managing to win, final scores 20-16. That Buccaneers defense was able to contain Jared Goff and the Detroit Lions, and Goff, to his, credit, still had over 300 passing yards himself. He did throw for 2 interceptions. Chris Godwin. Oh my God. I don't know if you happen to be, kind of mindful of his stats.
I happen to be the proud fantasy owner of the stats of one.
You killed
Chris
it in
Godwin.
fantasy yesterday.
I did. I had a fantastic day.
Godwin had over 100 receiving yards by halftime. I mean, that was one that I was keeping an eye on. And
it was that drive before halftime. I think it was like 5 or 6 straight passes to Godwin. It was the 3rd and 9 to get the first down. There was a 2nd and 8 later on in that drive, Godwin, and then of course Godwin ultimately to punch it in and pick up the touchdown. And he was balling yesterday, and Baker was finding him basically all over the field. Also, 34 yards on the ground for Baker Mayfield. Those weren't just scramble yards. He was determined to run. And how Baker runs. He runs like he thinks he's a fullback. He just tries to run through people. It was working yesterday.
Well, and one of these other upsets, this arguably maybe was the biggest shocker. Certainly something that us Cardinals faithful love to see. The San Francisco 49ers went to Minnesota to play the Vikings, and in a game where the Niners were the clear favorite to win, they ended up losing. The final score was 23-17. Niners did try to make a bit of a comeback in the 4th quarter. They did score 10 points in the 4th, but it just wasn't enough to put them over the top. Sam Darnold, with this connection with Justin Jefferson, I mean, this Justin Jefferson is like single-handedly reviving Sam Darnold's career.
Yeah.
And I mean, now Jefferson did get injured, I want to say.
I would have to double check that. I don't recall. I do know he got banged up at one point, but I don't think it was anything serious, or at least I didn't hear it was anything serious.
He's day to day. Okay. So, and that's one of the things with the Vikings where it's just going to be contingent on that duo, being able to play together, because Jordan Addison, I know, was out for that game. And, if you're not going to have, someone else on the field to be a target for Darnold other than Jefferson, then it's going to be pretty crucial that, the best receiver in football stays in that game. He had a catch yesterday. It was like a 60-yard bomb. It was huge. Darnold. And by the way, Darnold and the Vikings backed up all the way to the goal line. So it's Sam Darnold, where you probably are a little terrified to see Sam Darnold, which is in his own end zone. 97 yards.
Ripped
that was
it.
his long.
Ripped it.
Yeah.
It was like a 60-yard 60 air yards and then 30 more yards after that because he dropped it in the bucket. He hit Jefferson in stride. Jefferson only caught 4 passes yesterday. That was one of them. He caught a few other big ones. Whenever they needed a big play, Justin Jefferson was there. And look, Sam Darnold, say whatever you want about the guy. He's not dumb. He knows where the ball needs to go, and it goes there a lot.
No, and I mean, that was someone that, going all the way back to his time at USC. I mean, he was looked at as someone that had elite potential, coming into the NFL, and he just never really found himself in a good situation. Certainly never had the kind of weapon at his disposal that he has now with Justin Jefferson. So you put all these things together, and now you're seeing this product play out on the field. You got to be feeling pretty good right now if you're a Vikings fan.
You kind of have to, though. Niner fans hurting a little bit here. Got Lost Toby on the text line saying, fire Kyle Shanahan.
Oh, God.
Jefferson was hurt and was out of the second half. And just not enough. But you got to give the Vikings defense some credit, man. Like they went out there and they knew to key in on Debo, and they knew to key in on Ayuk, and they kind of took them out the game. Also, I don't know how much you put that at the feet of Kyle Shanahan. Brock Purdy didn't look good yesterday. Like, I just think that he's got to take the criticism there if we're going to give him the credit for being the player that helped this team stay Super Bowl bound. He looked bad. He looked really bad, and he made some throws that were just errant, I think is the nicest way I can use to say it. So that's a whole thing. If you're a Niner fan today, you're feeling it.
Well, and that's kind of been the status quo with Brock Purdy. Is he has an excellent performance, like how he just did last week against the Jets. Looked very sharp, and then there's going to be like a letdown, and then that next one he'll probably do a lot better, and you want to buy into it, and then the next one after that, another kind of shortcoming.
Just last year he was so much more consistent. Like, the confidence was there. The offense was running smoothly. This we haven't seen this since rookie Brock Purdy. This is not a good performance. Also, we've got on the text line 2684, who simply texted Raiders money line, which I'm guessing best and worst of the weekend. If that's what you took, sir, then you had a fantastic day. Also, 2684, you know what I'm about to say next. If you've listened to any show on this radio station, I'm going to need something from you. Going to need a text or nickname, because you can nickname yourself pretty much only here and not be mocked relentlessly. Everywhere else in life, it's absolutely lame to do it. But here on 1580 The Fanatic, we welcome your self-nickname. Nickname yourself, sir. I'll go ahead and get you in the system. Lost Toby also said he called a throw play on 4th and 2, led to a turnover, and then led to a 97-yard touchdown. Which, yeah, but 4th and 2 without who? Without your running back, without your best player. And Mason was playing well, but does he have that trust from Kyle Shanahan that that's going to work out? I don't know. I mean, 4th and 2 is a risky place to call a pass play, but if you're confident in the offense and the pass game, which I don't know why he wouldn't be. Like, do you like your pass game? I think it's pretty good. I think that's pretty reliable.
Well, and I think this was a game, and Keon and I were talking about this before we got on the show here. And Keon has an excellent point with this. Up until this point in the NFL season, what seems to be the most apparent is just that the defense, like among all teams, defenses just seem to be quite a bit ahead of offenses. And, we've seen that now with the Vikings, where you hold the Giants to 6 points. We're not going to give you a whole lot of credit for that. That's not that great of an offense.
Right.
But you have the 49ers come to town, and granted, they don't have their best offensive player, but even still, they're
still a talented team. Kittle was going yesterday. Debo was cooking yesterday. Ayuk not as much, but he was still out there and a factor. And clearly the Vikings respected what he was able to bring to the field, because they covered him with that level of respect. So yeah, there's still weapons out there for the Niners to exploit a defense. It just seemed like the Vikings were ahead.
Well, and to that point, I mean, you take a look at, some of these other upsets, the Packers and the Colts. This one frustrated me because we all saw, how things went last week on that Friday night game in Brazil. We know what happened to Jordan Love. We saw Malik Willis for a very, very, small amount of time. So not the biggest sample size, but what we saw in those moments was someone that didn't look necessarily prepared or, equipped for the moment. And then you kind of look at that, you're trying to project how things are going to go in week 2 when he gets a full game to go. And you just got to think to yourself, Packers just, they're going to be, in a hole. I mean, they don't really have a decent quarterback, behind Jordan Love. And then also with the way Anthony Richardson looked coming off of last week into this week, it seemed like, okay,
He's trending up. Willis is trending
he's
down.
going to be airing it out.
Mhm.
And then, the game happens and holy cow, the Packers defense, I mean, they were the story of that game. Final score there was 16-10. Anthony Richardson throws 3 interceptions, and Josh Jacobs has a monster game, 32 carries for 151 rushing yards. This was just a good old fashioned, Packers get up early and just run the ball to hold, the lead and keep the ball out of Richardson's hands. And then when Richardson did have the ball, your defense is forcing turnovers off of him. And the Colts, in a game where they were rightfully favored, they never had a chance.
Yeah, and I do think that a lot of that had to do with Josh Jacobs, obviously, but I think Malik Willis deserves some credit. They didn't put a whole lot on his plate. They didn't ask him to throw the ball a bunch of times, only 14 pass attempts in the game. But then, second in the team in rushing, he also added 41 yards on the ground, which you have to account for. And he kept drives going, and he burned the time off the clock when they had the lead. And that's all you ask your backup to do. You're not asking him to go out there and be Superman. Malik Willis is never going to look like Jordan Love, but they had some things specially made for Malik Willis. And you're looking at the depth chart before the beginning of the season, and I know, we laughed at this a little bit on the blender. Like, Malik Willis is really your backup? Yeah, because they know what he can do. They know what he can't do. And they didn't ask him to go out there and try and be Jordan Love. They asked him to be Malik Willis. Use your legs, run, and we're going to keep the game short in front of you. We're going to go to the quick pass game. And he executed it brilliantly. And so in combination with that defense, I think Malik Willis showed, a lot of why he's a solid quality backup in the NFL. Also, Anthony Richardson with the reminder that he is very much a project. He was raw coming out of Florida, didn't finish the season last year. He's still very raw.
Definitely. And are we at the point where we got to?
Yeah, we're gonna have to skedaddle here. How many more of these upsets do we have left? Stop crossing them off.
Couple more, just 2 more, and then wanted to
good.
touch base on some of the good things for us too. Our Cardinals had a really big
that's
victory.
The thing. That was also an upset, but that's a good upset for us. And I wanted to give us enough time to break that down longer than some of these other ones. So we'll get to the Cardinals here on the other side if you want to talk about that. We got some more Niner text rolling in. We'll get to that too, because CK has a really, really good point out here that I don't want to ignore. So you're on the Fanatic text line, 888-368-1580, and we're in the Harmon Solar Studios on 1580, the Fanatic.
1580 and 99.3 The Fanatic.
Live and local.
Tommy, I can't wait for golf this weekend, huh, buddy? Time flies. Love you, man. Oh, don't forget your knee brace again. We aren't in college anymore.
Moments together matter, so help protect yourself from RSV. If you're 75 or older or 60 plus with a chronic condition like asthma, COPD, heart disease, or severe diabetes, you're at higher risk of landing in the hospital from RSV, and there are no prescription RSV treatments. Check eligibility and schedule your RSV vaccine at vaxassist.com. Sponsored by Pfizer.
Now open in Scottsdale. It's United Forte Custom Door Showroom with 40,000 Euro doors and hundreds of state-of-the-art designs and finishes on display, plus kitchen cabinets, bathroom vanities, and more, all at wholesale prices. Builders, contractors, designers, and yes, you. Come see our showroom on Greenway Hayden Loop. That's United Forte, P-O-R-T-E. Stop by to see and feel the quality. United Forte Custom Doors. Find us at uporte.com. That's uporte.com.
All right, so there we were, cruising through the new open-air zoo, when I realized that the park was closing in like 15 minutes. That's when the afternoon took an exciting turn. Luckily, we were in my Nissan Rogue. With its powerful DC turbo engine, well, we had more than enough time to see all the animals. Whoa! and outrun a few.
Drive the Nissan Rogue. Now, Nissan offers 6 vehicles starting under $30,000 MSRP. Shop at your local Nissan store or at nissanusa.com. 2024 Nissan Altima, Kicks, Leaf, Rogue, Sentra, and Versa. All prices are manufacturer suggested retail price. Manufacturer suggested retail price excludes destination and handling charges, tax, title, license, and options. Dealer sets actual prices.
I'm Angela Gonzalez, reporting from Phoenix. We're talking with the community about Phoenix Police Department. Ma'am, what do you think?
Oh, I love them. They're our local heroes. We've had some problems around here with break-ins and people using drugs on the streets. The police work with our community to have a presence in our neighborhood and to keep our streets safe.
Thank you, Phoenix Police.
Gracias a la Policía de Phoenix.
Thank you, Phoenix Police.
Rise to serve. Find more today at joinphxpd.com. Protect and serve with the elite.
Sponsored by the City of Phoenix.
Let's say you've got questions. You're looking into solar, but you don't know where to start. Well, Harmon Solar has the answers. Hi, I'm Jeffrey O'Brien, and listen, there's a couple of ways you can go here. One, visit harmonsolar.com, browse around, because right across the page, they got links to all sorts of great information, like frequently asked questions, equipment, tax credits, even testimonials. Or just give them a call, 800-281-3189. Ask them directly. They'd love to hear from you. That's 800-281-3189. Or just go to harmonsolar.com.
1580 The Fanatic and at 1580thefanatic.com.
Your home for sports.
And we are back. Got a couple more of these NFL upsets from the weekend to talk about because good night of living. We had so many upsets going on in the NFL this weekend. You said at the beginning of the show, Dylan, are we tied for the most we've ever seen, or is this the most we've ever seen?
Right now it's a tie at 7, and if the Falcons were to win tonight and make it 8, I believe that may be a record. I'll need to double check that.
All right, yeah, I mean, tonight there's still potential for another upset because this is Eagles and Falcons. Those games tend to be so weird. Like it's a matchup where I'm picking the Eagles because I think they're better, but that doesn't mean anything. I don't feel great about some of these.
Well, and after yesterday, I don't even know what is something that you can count on anymore.
What is reality?
What is a good team? I mean, you look at this. This next one, Cowboys and Saints. This is a great example. How many of us watched the Cowboys dominate Cleveland in Cleveland last week? You see the Cowboys defense on full display, and you just walk away from that feeling like to your core, okay, we got the regular season Cowboys back. You can count on these guys in the regular season. And now they get their home opener against the New Orleans Saints. And, the Saints did have a very impressive first game, but they played the Panthers. So kind of like the Vikings, where just because you beat up on a really bad team, that doesn't necessarily mean you're good. This is how conventional wisdom works. So now when I look at these two teams playing each other, Cowboys are rightfully the favorite. I mean, unless you are just like a diehard Saints fan, I don't know how anyone could have looked at this game and felt like the Saints could have like had an actual chance in it. And then lo and behold, this game starts and it's like Derek Carr and Alvin Kamara like domination. And I mean, Dallas got beat in the first quarter 14-3. And from that point on, I mean, they never had a shot. I mean, New Orleans ran away with it. The final score was 44-19. Alvin Kamara, 20 carries, 115 yards, 3 touchdowns. Keon, when is the last time Alvin Kamara did anything remotely good? Like this. This was
it
insane.
Feels like it's been a year and a half. I mean, I would have to pull up some numbers, but I had Alvin Kamara last year in fantasy football, so I can tell you for a fact he was underachieving the entire season through. And nobody expected him to be old Alvin Kamara again. And I don't know if this is a permanent thing. Like, I don't know if this is back, but if it isn't, then he had one flash in the pan game to remember, because that 3 touchdowns, he just completely took over the football game. 21-point second quarter for the Saints. And a lot of that had to do with Alvin Kamara and the yards. He was just picking up chunk yards on the ground, and it was killing the Cowboys defense. They could not get off the field. And that obviously wore on them as the game went on and on and on. It also didn't help that Dak Prescott gave the ball away a couple of times, 2 interceptions for him. Not good. So the Cowboys, who looked last week like a lot of their departures in free agency and over the offseason maybe wouldn't have hurt them. Dan Quinn, the defensive coordinator, gone. Joe Witt Jr., the linebackers coach, gone. And then last week you go, oh, they're still talented. They're still deep. Maybe it doesn't mean anything. Maybe it means a little bit. That's the conclusion that I now have to try and rework in my mind is which Cowboys is the real Cowboys team that we saw? Week 1 Cowboys or week 2 Cowboys?
Well, now I'm kind of asking myself, are the New Orleans Saints like one of like the elite teams in the NFL?
You do have to ask that question though.
Well, and I just looking at their schedule now,
they got 2 40-point games this season.
I mean, we could be looking at the most elite offense in the league, and I don't think anyone out there, Saints fans included, I don't think any of them would have walked away saying after week 2 we're gonna have scored more points than any other team.
Dennis Allen came into the season with a seat that's not on fire, but it was a little toasty of a seat there, and he's kind of coaching his way away from that right now.
Well, their next 3 games, Eagles, Falcons, at Chiefs.
A lot of time to prove whether or not they're legit. I think this next stretch of games is going to tell us a lot about the Saints because we penciled in the Buccaneers to win that NFC South. I'm not so sure about that.
And
we talked about the NFL futures at the beginning of the season, and we had Falcons and Buccaneers as our 2 teams that you really wanted to take a look at. But the Saints look like the dominant force in the South.
That 4th game home against the Buccaneers, that'll be the first matchup of the season between those 2. That's October 13th. So that's going to be one to keep an eye on. And, perhaps those 2 teams come into that matchup as undefeated, so that would be really exciting if, it happens to play out that way. The last upset to touch base on from yesterday.
Well, hold on. Before we get to that, let's clean up the text line and then we'll get to that one so we can stretch our legs and really talk about it. CK says, that I'm a Niner fan, but I'm okay. Brian Flores gave Shanahan fits. Brock was fine other than the fumble, interception, whatever that was. He just had balls tipped at a crazy clip. He seems to have a couple of those games per year. JP Mason was getting 5 yards per carry. I'll take my chances with Mason. Also, the Vikings kind of found their pigeon early and often. I'm gonna have to probably send another word there because I don't know what that means. Early and often. Whoever number 22 is, he needs to go back to the practice squad. That's the thing. Is like the Niners just had a bunch of things that weren't clicking at 100% all game long. I will walk back what I said a little bit about Brock Purdy. I'm not trying to suggest that Brock Purdy had an awful game and that he was the worst quarterback or anything like that. But for Brock Purdy, that was not a good game for what we know that guy can play at the level that he is. 2684 said, thanks for the reply and sports talk. My nickname is Jesse. Now, you could, but you can nickname yourself anything.
We have a Donnie.
We do have a Donnie. I'll put it in the computer if that's what you want, Jesse. I'm just putting out the opportunity here to say this is the one opportunity in life that you're going to nickname yourself, and we will not all point and laugh. You can go bigger than that if you want, but if not, if you're cool, we'll go with Jesse. We'll rock with Jesse, and we will be just fine, my friend. So, last upset to get to here today, Dylan.
So we had
good news for us.
Yes. Well. Hold that thought.
Oh, okay. I jumped the gun a little bit.
So it's the one that I'm talking about is Browns and Jaguars. And this was a game where it was Jacksonville's home opener, and they did this little special promotion. The sponsor for Jacksonville's stadium, it's called Everbank, and the name of their stadium is Everbank Stadium. So Everbank did this promotion with the Jaguars quarterback Trevor Lawrence, where they said, hey, to help kind of, just hype up the crowd and, make this a really fun opening day. We want to rename the stadium for a day to Trevor Bank Stadium. So they literally altered all the signage. They put Trevor Bank Stadium all over the place. The Jaguars did lose to the Dolphins in week 1, but it was a pretty close game. It was a game that they happened to be winning for most of it until the Dolphins came back in the second half and beat them. So pretty just positive kind of sentiment and momentum behind them. Then you had the Browns coming off a disappointing week 1. You've got some questions about how that offense is going to function. Deshaun Watson looked pretty underwhelming against the Cowboys. So, conventional wisdom would have said, hey, Jaguars are probably rightfully the favorite here. And we instead just got a very abysmal game from Trevor Lawrence, 14 completions off 30 passing attempts. So not even completing half of his throws. Browns end up having that good defense come through. They held the Jaguars to only 13 points and they managed to get 18. So they won by 5. At this point, I think Cleveland, their defense is very good. I don't think anyone's questioning that. We know what the Cowboys are capable of on offense. So for the defense to not show up in week 1, I can give them a pass on that. So perhaps they're starting to kind of piece things together and figure it out. But the Jacksonville Jaguars, they've got some soul searching to do. For a guy like Trevor Lawrence to, have the stadium named after him, and coming into Trevor Bank Stadium, he can't even win in Trevor Bank. It's just something where, they're going to have to regroup and figure out a way to, try and get some wins, because now they're down 2 games to Houston, who is, 2-0 right now in the AFC South. Any takeaways from that game, Keon?
Yeah, Trevor Lawrence is probably another one. I don't want to make it seem like he was terrible. Less than 50% of your passes, obviously very not good, but he did get over 200 yards. So the passes he hit were big plays. He gave the team chances and opportunities. Where the Jags really fumbled this one was the red zone, rather. 1 of 4 in the red zone, 25%. That's not even close to good enough. And when they were in a situation where being in, they were where it was first and goal, they had 3 of those opportunities. So it wasn't like they were taking shots from the 20. They were inside of the 10 3 times and only converted 1 of those. So still, again, not anywhere near good enough. The Jags have some problems, I think, offensively, but also this is another defense way ahead of offense kind of thing, because the Jags can still probably right the ship here. But if you have problems and then you face the Browns and Myles Garrett's trying to kill you, you're going to show a lot of those weaknesses.
So, that'll be something to just keep an eye on and see how that goes. But for now, especially after last night, with seeing how, the Texans, played in their home opener, it seems like Houston's got a pretty clear path, to getting that AFC South crown,
especially with their defense. So if the Jags are struggling, that offensive line is a problem in Jacksonville. If they're struggling to hold back the Browns, I actually think that the Texans defense is better. That those struggles could start to multiply when they start to play these divisional games.
Well, and I think at this point we can transition over to the good news part of the segment. Certainly one of the better games and outcomes that we were pulling for over the weekend. Our very own Arizona Cardinals had their home opener against the Los Angeles Rams. And this was a game where the pricing was kind of all over the place, amongst all different books. Some people considered Cardinals the favorite going into it. Some people considered Rams the favorite going into it. It was pretty much priced as a pick-em, a 50-50 split right before game time. And as soon as this thing got going, we finally saw the vision, the potential of the pairing of Maserati, Marvin Harrison Jr. and Kyler Murray. And oh my God, was it just a lot of fun to watch. It kind of reminded me of when DeAndre Hopkins first came to the Cardinals off the David Johnson trade. And, D-Hop still very much being in his prime over that time. If anyone can kind of remember how things went back then, the man could grab anything thrown in his general vicinity. And it elevated Kyler Murray's game. It elevated the Cardinals as a whole. And it was some of the best success that we've seen out of that team over the last, 5-10 years. So, watching Marvin Harrison catch 2 touchdowns on his first 2 passes I mean, that was really, really special to watch. And in addition to that, I mean, you've got James Conner, who just continues to be just one of the most underrated running backs in all of the NFL. Goes for 122 rushing yards, gets a rushing touchdown, 130 receiving yards for Marvin Harrison Jr. with 2 touchdowns. Kyler Murray throws for 266 passing yards and 3 passing touchdowns. And the Cardinals just ran away with this. They ended up winning 41-10. Keon, what did you like about the Cardinals here?
I liked a lot of things. I think the thing I liked the most, obviously, was Marvin Harrison Jr. The term generational talent got thrown around in reference to him, and we saw why on Sunday. He can separate at an elite level. He catches jump balls at an elite level. And then when he has the ball, he leaves people in the dust. You'd love to see it. The other thing that really stood out to me was this Cardinals defense. I know the Rams had some injuries on the offensive line. They were banged up, but Zaven Collins and Dennis Gardeck were in the backfield like every play. And I didn't see that coming at all. I really thought the injuries on the defensive line for the Cardinals might show up in this game. Not so much. Really, they didn't seem to have much of a problem. Matthew Stafford was in the grass all the time, and it was hard to keep him upright and have him make big plays. And the further they fell behind, the more gamble Stafford had to take. And I think some of the passes that we saw from him later in the game were just desperation because they weren't really good. I liked everything about this Cardinals performance, but I think the defensive line and Kyler Murray and Marvin Harrison, that connection really stood out to me.
You know, naturally going into this, speaking of conventional wisdom, I think most people out there, if you were like me, you were probably a bit concerned about the Cardinals' ability to contain Cooper Kupp, because that's certainly been, one of our weaker spots, when it comes to our defense and our, ability to, cover elite receivers. So then you mentioned, how well Zaven Collins and Dennis Gardeck played, and, having that pressure on Stafford and forcing him to have to get rid of the ball, quickly. Otherwise, he's going to take a hit. I mean, this is the exact kind of thing that plays into Cooper Kupp being limited to just 4 receptions for only 37 receiving yards. So he goes, very, very far under, where everyone was expecting, his receiving yards to be for the game. And overall, now thinking about, the Cardinals and, our standing in the NFC West, the Seahawks are undefeated 2-0. And then here we are tied with the Niners after 2 games. And I don't think a lot of people thought that, this was a remote possibility.
It is just 2 games, but no, I honestly, I was not in that group of people. And I was actually pro Cardinals this offseason. So there, and also the Cardinals, I think, by the way, did a really good job of containing tight ends, because that's something that they've struggled with in the past. And no tight end really got going for the Rams. So we're right up against the break. We're going to go ahead and clean up the text line very quickly, because Lost Toby with another text as he continues to fry Kyle Shanahan. He says, or he could have kicked the field goal and not had an attempt and not had to attempt an onside kick, which was the worst onside kick attempt I've ever seen. It was pretty bad. And he also said the only thing that made my birthday weekend okay was, how about them Cowboys? Which, as far as a birthday weekend goes, yeah, you'd love your team to win that weekend, but you could do worse than the Cowboys.
Happy
losing.
Belated birthday, Lost Toby.
Yeah, happy birthday. So anyway, we are moving on. We're going to get to some of the picks for today, and we're going to talk a little bit of Monday Night Football, that game coming on after the Daily Blender right here on 1580 The Fanatic.
1580 and 99.3 The Fanatic.
Live and local.
Hey, football fans, Michael Vick here. They say I transformed the quarterback position. The fastest ever, the strongest arm, the most rushing yards. They call me a game changer. I say BetUS.com changed the sports betting game. It started 30 years ago with the industry's biggest bonuses, and they haven't stopped. This football season, get a 125% sign-up bonus on your first 3 deposits. Join me at BetUS Online Sportsbook and Casino, BetUS, where the game begins.
If you're driving a car or truck with an expired warranty and suddenly lost your transmission or needed a full engine repair, would a $4,000 repair bill leave you stranded? I'm Danica Patrick. Don't get caught off guard with a vehicle breakdown. Choose the company I trust. Endurance. No matter the mileage, if your vehicle is less than 20 years old, Endurance offers auto protection plans for any budget. Protection on the drivetrain, electrical, transmission, AC, and more. Plus 24/7 roadside assistance and rental car reimbursement on any plan. Endurance handles everything from making the claim to paying the certified mechanic of your choice. Act now and get 1 full year of elite benefits, a $2,000 value, free.
Endurance has paid hundreds of millions in claims. Call for your fast free quote today. Call 800-690-8974. That's 800-690-8974. 800-690-8974.
Everybody's got a podcast these days. Comedy, politics, true crime, you name it. But how many actually teach you anything useful? Harmon Solar has an entertaining podcast that is vital if you've been thinking about looking into solar, but you don't know where to start. Ralph and Ben explore the intricacies of utilities, equipment, processes, and more. Their primary objective is to educate and empower you to make informed decisions on your solar journey. So increase your knowledge, not your bills. Go check it out right now. It's the Harmon Solar Podcast at harmonsolar.com.
In most countries of the world, Forte means door. United Forte Custom Doors, located in the Scottsdale Airport Design District, is now open with over 40,000 European doors, all in stock, ready for delivery, and at wholesale prices. Designers, contractors, builders, and yes, you. Come see our showroom on Greenway Hayden Loop. That's United Forte, Porte. Stop by to see and feel the quality at United Forte Custom Doors. Find us at uporte.com. That's uporte.com.
Tommy! I can't wait for golf this weekend, huh, buddy? Time flies. Love you, man. Oh, don't forget your knee brace again. We aren't in college anymore.
Moments together matter. So help protect yourself from RSV. If you're 75 or older or 60 plus with a chronic condition like asthma, COPD, heart disease, or severe diabetes, you're at higher risk of landing in the hospital from RSV, and there are no prescription RSV treatments. Check eligibility and schedule your RSV vaccine at vaxassist.com. Sponsored by Pfizer.
The most important event in sports could happen at any time.
Like right now.
Or right now. Or even
now.
Don't miss history. Follow us on Facebook, Twitter, or at 1580thefanatic.com.
Money your way.
We're trying to save you some money, or at least make you some money. You're saving the money's up to you. I don't know. But as far as making the money goes, we're powered by Sport Trade, a new betting app coming to Arizona that changed a lot of the sports betting game. And we had a good day. If you were a Cardinals fan, you had a very, very good day.
If you were a Washington Commanders fan, you had a very good day.
Had a very good day.
Yesterday.
Finally got the Giants gorilla off our backs. Young quarterback looks pretty good, Jaden Daniels. So got to have some fun there. And of course, it's nice to just get that first win of his career, first win of the season for the Commanders.
I don't think I've ever seen a team win a game off purely field goals, let alone 7 of them.
The only time I can remember hearing of that happening was also Washington, back when they were the Redskins in the, I want to say, 80s. And the kicker won the MVP of the league that year. And one of those games was I kicked every single point. That's and it was, I think it was the same amount of field goals too. I think it was 7 of them.
That's insane.
So yeah, just that was a really, I mean, that was before my time, but I know of the game because I've read a lot about the history of the team. But I do think that it's really, really interesting that you can have that happen. Your team never actually punts, which means the only kicking that happened for you got you points. And this kicker was just a guy they signed off the street because they had to cut the last one because he was horrible. So, I think they might have found their kicker of the future too.
just adds to the significance of it all. But want to make sure we are able to get into some of the picks for today. If you are
That's right, by the way. Golden Domer just dropped in and said the Steelers did that last week. Not as many field goals, but I think that the Steelers got 18 on just field goals.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Thank you.
So for the picks for today, if you don't follow me on Instagram, you can follow me on Instagram and hit the link in the bio to get to the Beat the Book site where the picks are posted. My Instagram handle is at Beat the Book Fanatic. Likewise, you can visit 1580thefanatic.com. scroll down and click on the Beat the Book with Dylan Cohen logo. That'll take you right to the site where all the picks are posted. We've got a NFL game tonight on Monday Night Football, which you can stick around and listen to here on 1580 The Fanatic. Not going to have a whole lot of time to go through everything on here, but despite everything we've seen yesterday, it's difficult to kind of shake conventional wisdom. And you look at these two teams, and it's pretty clear that one team is much better than the other. And I'm talking about the Philadelphia Eagles. My pick is for them to win on the money line. All that being said, the way that all these games have gone so far this week, more than likely this one's going to be close. And if you're someone that is leaning more towards the Falcons, then perhaps you take them to cover the spread. I believe it's about 5.5 right now. But with the Eagles, still a very loaded team. They're not going to have AJ Brown tonight, but plenty of weapons on the offense between Devontae Smith and Saquon Barkley, who had 3 touchdowns himself last week against the Packers. But this game's going to be taking place in Philadelphia. They are playing on a grass field. Don't have to worry about the sketchy Brazilian field that was, injuring referees.
Players were sliding around like they were on ice. I mean, I don't know how many Packers defenders I saw just actually sliding like they were in a slip and slide. It just was hilarious, but also little dangerous.
I mean, perhaps, we see defenses get a bit more improved with the better playing field. Last game, the Eagles, scored quite a bit of points, as did the Packers, which kind of skews the sort of perception of the Eagles defense. I do believe it is going to prevail as a much better defense than the Falcons. And then I wasn't actually aware of this until just before the show when we talked about it, but Kirk Cousins doesn't have the greatest track record with Monday nights in his career. And, we saw a guy like Josh Allen, who is the owner of Thursday Night Football, show exactly why he's earned that mantle. Keon, who do you like in this game?
I like the Eagles in this game. It's not just the Kirk Cousins primetime stuff, which can be overplayed and can be overblown, but I think there's something there when you're always on the wrong side of primetime matchups. The sample size is not small for Kirk Cousins at this point, but also I just think the Eagles are a better team. I just, top to bottom, they've got better receivers, even with AJ Brown being out with the hamstring. Saquon Barkley still out there as a receiving threat and a running threat. We saw that against the Packers in Brazil. And then you look at the defensive side of the ball, and I like where the Eagles are coming from a little bit better. Not that the Falcons are bad defensively. They're actually pretty good, at least after what we saw last week. But I think the Eagles do a much better job of handling, especially someone who's going to have multiple targets to throw to. Kirk Cousins will. He's going to have Kyle Pitts, Drake London, Bijan Robinson. Those are going to be, weapons for him to look at. I think the Eagles do a really good job of keeping teams with lots of receiving options in front of them. You don't really get behind the Eagles too often.
And there are additional plays that I have posted for this game. So if you're someone that is maybe a little traumatized from picking a winner or loser, in the NFL, as I am, I'm still willing to throw a pick out there, but it's kind of hard to trust your intuition at this point after, the things that we've seen, based on what we were thinking going into, all those games. But if you visit the Beat the Book website, you'll see all the other picks I've posted for today. I have plays for the Diamondbacks and the Colorado Rockies game. There's going to be some other player prop bets to take a look at for the Monday Night Football game, a couple of other baseball props, and then a long shot parlay as well. So again, you can search online, Beat the Book with Dylan Cohen. First thing that pops up is going to be the Beat the Book website. Just click on that. You'll be able to check all that out. And we are brought to you by Sport Trade. Don't forget to search Sport Trade. Get your account set up. They are going to be launching. It is the newest sports book coming to the Valley. So many things about them that just make them stand out compared to all the other sports books. We are going to continue talking about this. We will have Sport Trade CEO Alex Kane back on the show on Friday. So a lot of good stuff to look forward to throughout the week, and excited for this game tonight.
I am as well. That is Eagles Falcons tonight, Monday Night Football, right here on 1580 The Fanatic at 4:30, right after the Daily Blender. Big George, wish I could get to your text, man, but I can't. We're all out of time. That's Beat the Book. I'm Keon Rose. Alongside me, our betting expert, Dylan Cohen. We'll see you tomorrow.
4 years. That's how long it took Democrats to ruin our economy and plunge our southern border into anarchy.